Hello friends, welcome back to another episode of Conversations with a Martial Artist. Today I've got a guest I'm very excited for. He's a man I've been trying to pin down and learn from for a long time now. I was very excited to sit down with him. It's Guru Bob Breen. Bob has been involved in a number of martial arts over a number of decades. As you'll hear, he's done a lot of training in karate. He led the national team back in the day. Lots of work in Judo, Kali, a number of Filipino martial arts, but he's best known as the Godfather, as it were, of JKD in Europe. He's been training with a number of big names like Dan Inosanto, and he's largely the leading expert on JKD and Kali. He runs his own system now, 4D training, or 4D combat I should say. Fantastic system, a blend of sort of everything that he's learned, very simplified, and a fantastic system to learn. You'll hear all about that in this podcast, but I was very excited to hear from him and everything he's got to say. Lots to get out of this one, but before we kick off, please don't forget to support the podcast. You can follow us online, whatever platform you're listening on right now. Make sure you are following and subscribed at CWAMA podcast, and I will leave you to now enjoy Bob and some of his fantastic insights. All right, well, Guru Bob, thank you very much for meeting me down here and agreeing to be on the podcast. I know I hassled you a bit for this one, but I was very excited.
No. I've just been a bit hectic because I had a hernia operation, and then
you've been through it a bit recently, it seems.
Yeah, I had a hernia operation, the hernia operation was great. Went well in and out, and then they said, "Oh, you just got to pee to leave. You eat, drink, and pee," and I couldn't pee, and they said, "Well, it's 750 quid if you stay overnight." And I was like, "Wow," which put more pressure on the peeing. Yeah. So anyway, at 4 in the morning, they said, "Look, we're not going to charge you, but we can just send you home." And on the way home, I had what's called a vasovagal episode, which is where like your blood pressure just goes like that, and you just feel sick. And so I got out of the car and laid on the pavement in the Euston Road at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm lying there, just to get all your limbs even, and then let everything sort of calm down. I'm shaking a bit, and this wonderful Kosovan woman came out, put a blanket over me, gave me some water, and
probably thought you were drunk.
No, she was great. She was marvelous. Heidi, and name is, so we're doing that, and then an ambulance pulls up and says, "Oh, well, I'm an ambulance driver, but I'm not a proper ambulance. I'm like some sort of a single person. No, it's a single person driver. Doesn't have a partner, doesn't have anything in the back. She's just like a transport thing." So she said, "Well, I'll take your blood pressure. I can do that." So she takes my blood pressure. So your blood pressure is really high, but it always is after an operation. It's like really high after an operation. And I had an operation 8 hours.
Just before.
12 hours before. So actually, I'd had it 12 hours before. And so I'm lying there, and she's taking the blood pressure. So she said, "Well, I'll phone up and we can get you an ambulance." So they phoned up and they said, "Call 111. And she went, No, I've got a 75-year-old man here on the pavement, and he's going to get hypothermia, and he's got really high blood pressure, and he's feeling quite unwell, and he's just had an operation. Call 111. 111 is going to give you a couple of aspirin. Take an aspirin and come back in 2 days." So eventually, your wife said, "No, we're going to get him up. We're going to put him in the car. We're going to take him to University College Hospital." Was 2 minutes away. Right. 2 minutes away, and you can't get an ambulance in Euston Road.
Yeah, that is a bit mental.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Central.
Yeah, and so anyway, we drove past the hospital, and I came home and I was okay, but it was a bit of an up and down there,
That's nothing to make you nervous like that, eh?
No, and then we've had the kitchen done, so the house is in chaos. So it's been a bit of a hectic 6 weeks, but still, I'm back now. I'm back training. I trained on Thursday, and it's marvellous just to get back.
Just get moving again.
Start hitting people and doing stuff. It's lovely. So you were saying your background's in Wing Chun.
mainly Wing Chun. So we were just talking off camera about sort of some of the differences and things. I thought it was really interesting what you started saying about the different ranges and different arts sort of having their specialisms. But if you don't mind, just touch on that again.
I think the trouble is they all think they have everything. Yeah. And none of them have everything, and they're all workable up to a point, and then they get to the point where they need something else, don't they? And so like the Wing Chun, I think is great, but it's not a long range style. So
agree. Yeah.
I've known people who've been jabbed to death. Yeah. Jabbed and crossed and hooked to death by boxers. Who are going, but someone really good at keeping you outside. And so you're not going to get near. And there's no contact. So you really need it all. You need an integrated approach. And so what I tried to do when because I did Jeet Kune Do, so and I was one of the pioneers of. I was the pioneer of bringing JKD and Kali in particular here to the UK and to Europe as well. I think, and I looked at both those arts, and they're really integrated arts. They cover lots of ranges and stuff, and so I studied loads of other arts as well. Bagua, Wing Chun, BJJ. But I love that integrated approach. So I do it at something called 4D combat, which is mainly to do with stand up, but the same principles work totally on the ground. It's all about geometry and structure, and it's basically 4D for 4 dimensions of combat: striking, clinching, weapons, and group attack.
Awesome. Yeah.
So if you're in clinching, that's where like the Wing Chun sort of soft push hands sort of stuff, and Tai Chi stuff, and then into locking, but into also going from like, so if you take Aiki, Aikido and Aikijutsu, it tends to do the wrist and maybe the elbow, but they don't do body locks. They don't do the stuff that Greco,
like
Roman Pit would do.
Where
the Kali actually does that much better. And if you add a bit of the Greco and the catch can in as well, then there you've got a much more holistic thing.
Yes.
But 90% of it's in the Filipino stuff. If you study it, so that's what I do. And I'll talk about those four aspects of combat. Because if you had a fight anywhere, it could be just empty hands, it could be group attack, it could be weapons.
That's it, yeah. If you look at real just violence.
Maybe it modulates through all of those. So I said, well, and I was in Italy at the time. I was on holiday, and I met my friend Andy Norman, and Andy Norman invented Defense Lab, and they did KC and KFM,
I thought I recognized the name,
and he did all the films with Tom Cruise and stuff like that, and and also he did all the Batman films as well.
Yes.
And he used to be a student of mine. I used to teach him. Cool. Back in long ago, and I was just talking to him. I said, look, you need something that covers these 4 dimensions of combat and integrates them. And then he went away, and I thought, well, how do you do that? Because it's like, that's huge. Each of those is like an art form. And I thought, but look, there's an 80-20 there in all of those. In that there's, like Pareto, those people who don't know what the 80-20 principle is, that 20% of everything you do gives you 80% of all the, all of the upside. And so I said, well, okay, let's find out what the 20% is, and how can I get that instead of having 4 sheets of paper or 4 books? How can I put it on 1 book? So I just looked at it diagrammatically and geometry-wise, and went, well, that's the same. That's an overhook. That's an underhook. That's an arm drag. That's a box. Like I'm in the box blocking you out, or or when I'm doing cheese out, it's still a box.
Yeah.
I'm holding a box, but I'm inverted, or and if I do the stick, even if I've got a single thing, that's a box.
Okay.
So I'm either in the box, blocking you from coming into the box, or I'm passing you through the box, or I'm splitting, or I'm external to the box. And I went, there's only 4 things then.
Yeah.
So everything's really simple.
Yeah, you sort of zoom out and look at it.
Zoom out and look at it, and not get caught up in, that's called, kotegashi.
Yeah, this move
that's
versus
not
this
called,
move, yeah.
bong sao, jung sao, all of that nonsense which precludes you getting to the purity of it all, which was what Bruce was on about.
Yes.
Totally about no, just fighting. It's just fighting. There's no, who cares what you call it?
Well, this is what I was about to say. It's a very Jeet Kune Do approach to it.
Yeah. And so, and the trouble with Jeet Kune Do is that everyone talks about Jeet Kune Do principles. Yeah. But Bruce didn't really come down with the 12 tablets.
Yeah.
There's a couple of tablets, and they're not really. And he was in the process of organising.
Very much. He was a young guy.
Young guy.
He died, yeah.
And so, but you knew what he was on about.
Yeah.
That was the thing. You knew where he was going. No. The truth is the truth. So how do I just do the truth? Not say, boxing's best, Thai boxing's best. I've known boxers have been killed by Thai boxers, but I've known Thai boxers have been killed by boxers.
That's it, yeah. It's so individual.
It's so individual, yeah. And so what are the principles that make all those things work? So for me, I don't think of myself as very anal, but I'm probably am a lot about. So I said, well, it all has to go on one sheet of paper. So the principles are the same for every. When I'm standing on the ground, weapons, it's the same principle.
So you're using it almost the same like operating system
My
for whatever.
so I'm just faster than you.
Fine.
Because you've got 17 things to think about, I've got 4.
Yeah.
Or 2. Normally it's a binary choice. Yeah. So I said, well, how do you make it so there's no 15 choices? It's a binary choice. 1 or 2.
This or that. Yeah.
This or that. So wherever I am, it's either this or that. I'm either going to hit you or I'm going to clinch you. Right. So it's a binary choice. I'm going to clinch you. Okay. I'm doing a wrist lock because that's what's handy. Right. But I want to get nearer to you because your core is what I want. So then your elbow goes up because I'm wrist lock you. So I underhook you. Now I've got the body lock. I'm going to take you down.
Right.
And when I take you down, and I'm in the mount on the ground, you're in a box.
Yeah, same thing.
So same thing. So I'm going to fill the box with hits, and if your hand comes up, I'm going to split. And katakatami, and so it's the same everywhere. So there's a universality to it, and because I'd had fights when I was a kid, and you want it to work for your students, don't you? And the big thing I found was when, the journey I had through karate and all these other arts and bagua and shingi and stuff like that, I loved that. Loved the journey. In fact, I'm quite happy to walk the circle with, in bagua or to do whatever, and it was no problem whatsoever. I just loved it for it itself, Yeah. But if you wanted to teach people, they need to be able to go out and
use
fight,
that, yeah.
and use them, yeah. So, and obviously I inherited Bruce's idea. I wasn't really into Bruce a lot, actually.
Oh, right.
I was into the films.
Yeah.
But I followed Dan in the Santo.
Yes.
Dan in the Santo was the man who made the biggest influence on my life, really. Just an incredible person.
He seems incredible. To be fair, he's also, I was saying to you before, he's also very on my bucket list. A few years ago, I was planning on going out, because he's in LA, isn't he?
Yeah.
I was planning on going out there, but my bank account had other plans.
Yeah.
But
you haven't gone yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I said, well, if I've got these binary choices everywhere, so I'm faster. So I'm faster thinking, right? And I said, well, how do I do that on everything? And how do I attack your instincts? Because people say they're going to do this, but actually under pressure, everyone does this.
Yeah.
Calm down, or up, don't hit
so
me, or
hands come up, you flinch a bit,
and it's always this way.
Yeah.
People don't do, or they do this. You know, this is the first thing you do.
Yeah.
Stay away. Whether it's like that, or it's you know, these hands come up like that to build like a wall. You know, what Jeff Thompson calls the fence.
Yeah, the fence. Yeah.
But really, I think of it as the box. So
yeah, you're literally defining.
Box. I'm defining the shape,
yeah.
and I say, well, do you want to come in the box? So I open the box up for you to come in. So I dictate what you're going to do from the start. But so there's really 5 instincts that people do in things. They go fight, flight, fence. You know? Then they cover and clinch.
Yeah.
Right, but you only cover and clinch once you've been hit.
Yeah.
You don't cover and clinch before.
Yeah.
Something's going on. So if you've not been hit, you don't go, yeah, or you don't go, you don't clinch, because what will you do if you're going into attack?
Yeah.
But you don't do it as a reaction.
Yeah. If someone sort of goes, boo, you're not hugging them.
Yeah, you're not hugging. Yeah. So fight and flight and fence. You've got that linear thing, and then you've got cover and clinch. And so I went, well, that's everywhere. Everyone's doing that.
Yeah.
Because I trained with Matt Chapman. You know Matt Chapman? He's great. He's been training with me since he was about 16.
Oh, wow.
Now I train with him, and he trains with me, and we're round and round. Yeah. So, but he said, "Oh, you always attack my instincts." He goes, "I do stuff as I've been doing martial arts for 35 years, and you go like that," and I go, You know? and I said, "Well, that's great, isn't it?" So I want to attack people's instincts. I want to be faster mentally because of the binary choices and the simplicity of the format, and then I want to be faster structurally. So then I looked at it, because how it really came about was when I was 36, 37, I was very fit. I was like I'd do 10 hilly miles in an hour, cycling 200 miles a week. I did the first London triathlon.
Oh, cool.
First ever London triathlon. Yeah. And I was one of the pioneers of triathlon. Was there. At that time, there was only one book on triathlon in LA. In LA, there was only one book. And I got it. I mean, oh, that's on triathlon, I'll get that. And I came and worked all that. And obviously, it was early days. Now, triathlon's really, and they're amazing now. They're all killers. Yeah,
it's
crazy, I wasn't anywhere near that good. But I was super fit, and I could do 47 chin-ups, without having a break, which is...
That's pretty insane, that.
I should have done 50, but I never thought of aiming for
I was going to say, round it up a bit,
Yeah, I was just doing them, and I got the 47, that's about all I could do.
That'll do.
Yeah, instead of saying, right, I must do 50, I never thought like that. Weirdly, I wasn't that target orientated, it was just something I did, So I was super fit, and then God went, "Oh no, you're standing a bit too proud," and I was a cripple within the year, and because my hip gave way because I had a childhood misplacement, and I've worn that hip out.
Oh, so you've just been wearing
the running and all that stuff, and the cycling, worn it out. So pretty soon I was a cripple, and could hardly walk, couldn't get in a doorway. I used to go home in the evening from my club, and the doorway was like an inch, a little plastic sill, and I have to lean forward to get my foot over that. But I was still training and sparring, and not jumping around sparring, saying, "Well, if you stay on the spot and I stay on the spot, we'll fight." But I did loads, and I just had to adapt. And in that adaptation, and I was too young to have a hip replacement.
Sure, yeah.
Because back then, hip replacements only last 12 years.
Yeah.
I've been very fortunate. My current ones have lasted me 24 years now.
Right.
So that's incredible. But loads of people, you can only have 3.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
I think 3, because each time the peg that goes into your leg gets bigger, and until it's the whole of your leg.
Until it's
So you don't really do that, because that's where all your bone.
Yeah, you want your leg.
Well, So So anyway, I became like a cripple overnight, really. And then the other hip went as well, you know. And so I spent 15 years like that. They said, no, you can't have a hip done until you're 50, which was great actually, because they hadn't made the technological changes.
Right, yeah.
And I would have been
a lot more rudimentary back then.
Yeah, it was very rudimentary. And I have a friend, Tom Kalos, who's quite a famous school owner in America. He said, I think, had 4 hip replacements, but he's now can't walk, can't do anything. You know,
it takes its toll.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. And he became allergic to his hips.
Oh, wow.
From the titanium wearing. Well, I didn't have titanium, so I was. Anyway, so that 15 years was great because it was horrible, but great.
Yeah.
You know, it was like one of those.
In hindsight.
Because I had to think a lot more. Because the other guys who had all the physical attributes could just go, just
they
go
can
like
get
that.
away with stuff.
And they do things badly, but it would work because they're really athletic, and I wasn't athletic anymore. I'd gone from being quite a good athlete to being nothing. You know, being a hero to zero, you know? And I was like, oh bugger, you know, this is hard.
Yeah.
You know? And I was having some other health problems as well. And so I just started analysing if I move my shoulder there, I can hit you better. If I move my head here, I can hit you better. And I started looking at geometry and things. And then when we did the 4D thing, I used all that. And I realised that manipulation was a big thing. So if we were evens, and we're bam, bam. But if I can just manipulate you, just a little bit, like maybe when your jab comes on, I just tug on it a little bit, so now you're a bit heavier on that leg. Or when you go to pull back, I push you a little bit, you know? Which is what Filipino martial arts is famed for.
Okay.
But actually, very few people do it. They talk about it. It's almost like in Wing Chun or
you find that
in BJJ. We are famous for and you go, do you practice it? Oh no, we don't do it. Because if you look at Lee's book of the Tao Jeet Kune Do with his notes, he calls it hand immobilization skills, and he calls it foot immobilization skills. No one ever does the foot. No one ever does it. You know? And then the Kali came along in the Silat, and they do, particularly the Kali does lots of foot trapping.
Okay.
So I went, if I foot trap you, it's almost like you've got a tent and I've got one of your pegs.
Yeah.
And I own the peg, so you can't take the tent anywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And I can beat you up in the tent,
Yeah.
And so I started looking at all of that and playing with that, and that takes you into the Wing Chun, takes you into the Hubud, which is like the Filipino method, which I find easier, you know, easier to do, easier. Even that's not true, because it always ends up with 2-on-2, you know.
Yeah.
Where Hubud's not that, but once I'm at 2-on-2, I'm normally boxing, or I'm breaking away, or I'm arm dragging on, I'm crashing through that barrier. And I've done plenty of like trapping, so I'm not bad, you know. And it's all sensitivity work. So the 4D came about through that. So I want to be faster than you mentally, faster than you physically, because my structures, I've nicked all the time off it.
Yeah.
You can't see, like, instead of my shoulder being here, and you can see it because it's on an angle, I move my shoulder here, and I extend my shoulder, so now I'm closer to you to get the hit. And loads of that, and I remember hitting someone and they're going, how can you hit me? You're a little short guy, and I'm like 6 foot and I can't hit you. And I went, I don't know, I'm just lucky, you know?
Yeah.
But it was mainly because I'd have to think about it more, and they didn't really have to.
Yeah.
And I would love to be them and not have any brain work happening.
Yeah.
But at the same time, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And you think, oh my God, people are leaving, you know, people saying they're leaving so much cash on the table.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the same. You're an estate agent, aren't you? So you know, people like, they make bad deals, don't they?
Oh, plenty, yeah.
And there's martial artists out there making bad deals every day, wasting time, wasting effort, doing stuff that never work. Again, if you postulate that 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle onto it all, then you go, wow. So I only want to do these because these are the only ones that work.
Yeah, why waste time with the rest of it?
That never happens. We were talking about the other day. We were talking about where you can do an inside sweep, and then you can put the dagger outside. So you go 1, 2 like this, or you go 1 and you put the dagger in here, or you put the hand in here. And I said, yeah, that one's lovely, but do that under any pressure. You're not going to do it. It's too much fine detail. Yeah. So it's got to be simple. And then I know some people say, oh, but I like the complex stuff. But then you realise once you get the simple stuff down, it's so deeply sophisticated.
Yeah, because of the nuance in
the nuance, and you just go, oh no, it's not that, it's that. It's not this, it's that. And I teach a thing now where I say to people, it's like a Sun Tzu quote from The Art of War. I say, the great general achieves victory and then does battle. So I said, so as soon as I grab your hand, I'm manipulating you straight away. So your wrist and your whole arm is locked up, even for a second. So you can't use that arm's gone, And then when you go to back, when you want it back too much, so before you're always going, it's like saying, when I'm on balance, I'm going to do you. And you're going, well, you're never going to be on balance, mate.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be hitting you all the time. And you can't do it all the time. Like everything, it's not Christmas every day.
Yeah.
But there's quite a few holidays that you get, in a year where you just go, I've done that to you again. I'm manipulating you again. And then geometry, most people, and again, this is like a very Kali, or silat with the triangles on the floor, the different angles.
Yes, I've heard of this.
Chemandi, Chikalong, and all those styles tend to do that. Different triangles. I don't like that because it's a bit too. It makes you conform to a grid, and life's not a grid. But if it helps you, it's great. So the trouble with that is people they conform to the pattern.
They get fixated on
instead
that.
of the pattern being a liberation thing, which is a Jeet Kune Do thing, where you go, I'm going to use this pattern until it's of no use, and then it's done. I remember training with, I'm not sure, it was Abner Passer, who was a Filipino expert. Quite a few of them though, have just said to me, oh, let's do this drill. I thought, oh, this is a new drill. He said, no, we'll use it until you got this down, then we won't ever do it again.
All right. So to teach you a skill within that.
Teach you a skill. Teach you how to see, how to count the 1, or how to know when the 4's coming in the 12-bar blues, to know when the chord changes, I remember my friend, I used to teach a guy who's then became my training partner, Jeff Britton. And Jeff Britton played drums for Paul McCartney and Wings, Band on the Run and all that. And Jeff was a very disciplined trainer, as he is a drummer. He would do 2 hours a day on the drums every day, even now when he's 80.
Good on him.
Good on him. But if he did, when he was doing training, it was
same idea.
Regimented. I've lost track of it. Where I was.
You just talk about the timing and things of those drills.
Yeah, so you can do it, but it's like a bell curve, isn't it? Up to here, it's really helping you. But beyond that, it's just
there's a certain point. You've got that skill.
You've got that skill.
Yeah.
You don't need to keep repeating that anymore. You want to let that go, don't you? You want to just go, I've got that. If I lose it, I can come back to the drill again. But, or the other alternative is to say, what else is in the drill that I didn't see the first time?
Yeah, look at it from a different
some of those
perspective.
drills that you have in, say, Kali or in Wing Chun, where you might go like, or there's certain drills, you think you have it, and then you come back 10 years later, you go, oh, I didn't understand that. I didn't see that thumb was
that
just
little
there.
thing, yeah.
I mean, that's most contemporary contemporaneously seen by people like Roger Gracie, where he beats people up with the most.
Yeah, the same thing, and you know what he's going to do,
and it's a basic, and he's just gone. Oh, he's just done the beginner's basic on the best guy in the world, and it works.
Yeah,
and you go, why is that?
And you knew he was going to try. And do it.
But it's just he does it so well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's where I go more towards a qualitative end, do less stuff, but it's not less sophisticated, because the more you do it, you realise once you've got the one in. If you're hitting them with a stick or you're jabbing them, you know, okay, now they're going to do this or this. You know, if they don't drop, you know they're going to do that or that. So if the hand comes out, you're going to hook it. If the hand doesn't come out and the head goes back, you're going to cross them. If they're quite good up the top, you're going to take out their leg. So it gets a very simple process.
Yeah.
And then you start to play. Because then you start to going, well, Bob, and then he's going to come back here like a spring. So I'm just going to be off the angle,
Yeah, you have almost like a pre-planned answer to everything.
Yeah.
Because it's general.
Yeah, and well, we drew a map up in a cafe like this. My friend Eddie and I, and Ed wanted to understand a principle, something called numerado tallado, which is like. Numbers I come with a number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and I attack you in a numerical order, and then you can either do it on the spot or you can do it in a circling way, almost like Spanish fencing would be done way back in the day. So the Italian fencing was very linear, and the Spanish fencing was all done in a circle.
Oh, okay.
And lots of triangles, which is in Filipino stuff, and so I was trying to teach him that. I said, look, there's a box in the middle where you are, where you're standing, and you either fight or flight, or you can go left or right. So that was like four
options right away.
4 triangles and a square in the middle. I said, but then you can go round, and you've got an 8-foot circle. Or you've got a 2-foot circle. So 2-foot circle, if I'm controlling your elbow, I'm on your elbow with my elbow. That's my 2-foot circle. I'm walking around, but if you try to hit me, I'm on the 8-foot circle.
Got it, yeah.
So I've got this this duality happening, I can go in, I break in, almost like the tide coming in, I hit you, and I spiral and I go out. And if you can see that with Lomachenko in boxing, doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Comes in, comes in, curves left, comes out, triangles, curves right, bobs and weaves, curves right, taps you again, comes out, plays long, goes short, goes in. So he's just doing triangles and he's doing that longitudinal thing, the linear thing, and he's doing the curve and the triangles. And you go, it's magic, So you can get like 3 or 4 really simple components, but if you own those, you can invent.
Yeah.
Because you're not tied to.
Yeah, you're free with it.
You're free with it, and you're not tied to a structure. And it sounds really complex, but it's not, because you've got a binary choice.
Yeah.
And you want to control your long first. So either way, like a teep or a front kick or a jab. And if you do the jab right, the jab's about the same length as a teep or the front kick, or it's not far off. So you've got long tools, and then when they come closer, you want firepower. So long, you've only got 2 tools. So you've got a lead hand and a lead leg. So I always think that's like if you're in Afghanistan or something, you're a sniper. You're sniping at long distance that they're not near. Once they get near, you need firepower.
Yeah.
So now you need an AK-47 or something like that. So therefore, excuse me, your stance gets a bit squarer, and you're and it's like and you're using everything, but you also got all this invasion as well.
Yeah, the movement. Yeah.
And plus you can move like Lomachenko, so you're never on their 12.
Yeah.
They want to aim there, and you're just there, and they want to aim there, and you're just there. So if you practice that all the time, it just becomes your second nature. You're never on their 12, or if you are, you're too far, or you're too near. So you trapped them, and you're in.
Yeah, you're right.
You clinch them. So So therefore you've got 4 directives of movement, binary principles, and you're attacking their instincts. And you go, really, you don't need anything else.
Yeah, that's it. It's a very, like you say, intelligent approach from where you have to actually think it through.
Yeah.
What are the possibilities and where does it actually go?
Yeah, and then you can, each of those you can say, oh, I want to learn everything there is about half guard or box. So I want to learn everything I can about it, how to evade, keeping in the box, not moving, like Canelo Alvarez would do. You know, bob, 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 all of that. And you realise in the boxer there's 9 places you can have your head.
Okay.
So you go, okay, I'll work that, only on that. You know, so work in a chair like this, where we're in a chair, so I can't move, so I can only move my upper body, so I can't use my legs at all.
Yeah.
You know, not these sort of chairs.
No, yeah.
But like a more upright chair. And then you're just isolating. So I do loads of that. I take a bit and just polish that bit. Almost like I'm doing engineering. Polish that bit up, that jab or that cross, till I can spar with you only on that tool. Only that tool. I've only got one tool.
You can only use that and you can do it.
You can do whatever you like. And I can still beat you. Then I put that back into the box with all the other tools. And I take another tool out and I polish that. And it might be an evasion tool, it might be a manipulation tool. But then I test each of those tools independently. I go, all right, you're going to try and hit me as much as you can. I'm just going to manipulate you and control you. Yeah? You're going to try and hit me and I'm only going to evade. You're going to try and hit me, I'm only going to jab you. I'm only going to use my right hand and my shoulder roll and evasion. You know? And it's amazingly potent, because what I've done is I've taken myself out. So choices wise, I'm faster.
Yeah. You already know what you're going to do.
Yeah, I know what I'm going to do. So it's almost like, goes back to the karate days, where you'd be there with your Gyakuzuki and waiting for them to come, and then it was a timing game. Yeah?
Is that the rear punch?
Yeah, the rear punch. Yeah. So when we used to do what was it called Ippon Shobu, you know, like you'd fight, and it was like who would get a whole point. Whole point was a punch that would drop you.
Yes. Yeah.
Or did drop you. You know, because it was both in the early days. There wasn't any protection. There was more teeth flying everywhere. It was madness, really. And then, and what's great about that is timing was everything. Timing and distance were everything. You know, so and you had to polish your tools. And you didn't have lots of tools. If you looked at the karate back then, it was very thin. It was like a lead hand, a rear hand, all straight. Didn't have any hooks.
Right.
Front kick, a round kick, and a side kick and a back kick.
And was karate your sort of starting art?
That's what I started doing, yeah. I mean, I grew up around boxers because my dad worked at the Hilton Hotel in Park Lane. So, and I worked there from about the age of 14. So I met all the boxers, all the promoters, because there'd be a boxing thing every
and they'd all go there.
Every month, the Anglo-American Sporting Club, Mickey Duff, Jarvis Astaire, you know, it was like a Jewish group of guys who cornered boxing. They controlled it. Yeah? They weren't the nicest people in the world. Well, they didn't care about people. You know, they were just into it just for the cash. But I mean, I saw John Conti there. Saw Alan Mint have his first pro fight there.
Oh, that's cool.
John H. Stracey, Charlie Magri. So I was meeting those people on a daily basis, or on a weekly, on monthly basis. I met Jack Dempsey there.
Oh, that's a cool one.
And I talked to him for half an hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was really interesting.
Were you quite into your boxing at that point?
No.
Just...
No, I was a karate guy.
Right.
And I thought boxing was a little bit, a bit raw, you know?
Yeah.
And I liked my karate at the time. I was 16, 17, I think, when I met Jack Dempsey. But I saw him and Joe Louis, and both of them, I looked after both of them. Nothing special, just making sure they had teas and coffees and things like that, and just standing there and listening to them talking. Yeah. or asking him things. And he was really interesting because Jack Dempsey was he wasn't punchy at all, really.
Yeah, well, I was
But
going
he
to
had
say.
hundreds and hundreds of fights, bare knuckle. So I said, I don't think bare knuckle fights injure you as much as gloves do. Because gloves are like an anti-tank round on, and I think it's soft, and then the force goes through. You know, because that's what an anti-tank round has. Has a soft, deformable bit at the front.
Right.
And then it goes dung dung, and then the power is like inside it, you know?
Yeah.
So it clings to the thing, so that it
So
doesn't bounce
it's got
off.
the cushioning, and then it goes through.
So the cushioning to stop it deviating, you know? And I think lots of the bare knuckle blows probably come off. They cut you and everything. I mean, he was
bad
a dude.
superficial.
Yeah, but it's all superficial.
Yeah.
Whereas the boxing gloves, so I met Joe Louis maybe 2 months or 3 months after Jack Dempsey, and he was definitely
Much
punchy. Much punchier. Jack Dempsey was 73 or 74 then,
Oh, right.
and much the same age I am now. He was as bright as a button.
Well,
Bright as a
that's it.
button.
He comes across because he's quite known in the boxing world as a more sort of, not necessarily academic, but like you, where he's thought it through. Obviously, championship fighting is that his book that he's famous for. It's very structured and
it is now. But
yeah.
if you hear what he said he fought so badly in so many fights and got bashed and knocked out, and he just kept coming back. You know, just like going, oh, there's a fight 15 miles away. I'll hike there and have a fight for $20. You know, and you go, wow, that's just like, because he said he was in the Klondike, up in the Klondike Gold Rush, and they said, oh, we've got a fight for you. It's in Brunswick town or something. So he just walked there, have a fight. We got beaten up. He walked back, you know, just madness. And he said he soaked his face in brine for half an hour a day.
Why?
So he didn't get cut. It toughens
really?
up the skin, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is a bit nuts.
Yeah. So I got around that.
that.
So even though I didn't box then, I was around it all, and you talk to him, you're listening to him, and you're chatting to him, and then I go and watch Conti train.
Cool.
With Francis's trainer, and that was a real. He was a great trainer. I can't remember his first name. George Francis, I think. Yeah. So I go and watch that a lot. So I was obviously into it. You know,
Yeah, you're around it.
But I'd had loads of fights. But it was weird. Back in those days, we'd go and put a display on breaking wood and the things we did back then, you know. And there'd be a judo guy there, and you go, oh, hey, that's exceptional. But you never do it. You never take. We were in like silos.
Yeah.
This was the karate silo. Boxers were over there, and they didn't talk to us. We didn't talk to them. Judo people were there. We never talked to them. You know. And then probably in the 70s. Yeah, in the 70s, it started to change. I mean, early 70s, I did a film with Joseph Chang, and the times were changing. So whilst Bruce was a magnificent individual, in some ways he was a product of the times, because the times were changing. Everything was opening up. It was the end of the 60s, 68, 69, 70, 71. You know, it was just like flower power, but everyone was talking to everyone.
Right.
It was a marvelous time. It was just the best of best times, culturally, spiritually. You know, there was still shit happening, but it was, it was very
just more
optimistic time. You know, flamboyant, and so everyone was talking to everyone, and the doors were open. So I trained with Joseph on that film for at least 2 months, and we'd spar and we'd talk, and we'd say, oh, why'd you do that? And, oh, I don't do that, I do this. And we fought quite similarly, very direct, you know?
Yeah.
But he was good. I liked him a lot. He's in China now, I think.
Oh
teaching.
yeah, I don't know.
Teaching. I think he's teaching in China now. So that was the times were changing then. So, and then Bruce obviously came along and went.
That's what sort of exploded it.
Yeah, he was the best exponent of that change. But the change was happening anyway.
Yeah.
And so I was just starting to look around, and then I said, well, I think I'm going to go do some judo.
Okay.
And I went to, and I did odds and bits of judo. But then I said to my friend, I'm going to go to there's a club, because I always wanted to go to the best club. And I was then one of the teachers at the Tonbridge Club, which was the best Judo school in London at the time. So I was, apart from the Japanese, I was the only English teacher at that time. So, and I used to do the Saturdays, and the Japanese would do the week. And they were great people. And I remember saying to my friend, there's a club called the Bin Shuden, and I want to go there because they say that's the best judo club in Britain. And my friend was a black belt in judo. He said to me, Bob, he said, I'm a black belt. He said, when I go there, I wear a white belt because they'll kill me. He said, don't go there. He said, you'll be broken. So I didn't. I went there a couple of times to look, and it was Dave Starbrook. It was all the Olympic team.
Right. Yeah.
And actually, when my hips started playing up, before I knew what it was, I'd actually go and have some treatment with Dr. Ken Kingsbury at a special osteopathic clinic for martial artists.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was basically the British judo team and me. And they were going, what happened to you? Oh yeah, well, he did a Maki Komi on me.
Yeah.
But my hips kept where they were, and my body turned around my hips. So now my hips are like, so they all have like, their pelvis would be over there somewhere. And they all had terrible injuries. And I went, maybe that's not the way to go.
Yeah, it's a rough one on the body.
It's a very rough. And particularly at that level, they're smashing each other.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting. But I've looked at loads of stuff and stuff I've loved.
So
I still come back to it. Still come back to it all.
So where did the Filipino martial arts come from then? Was that when you met Guru Dan? Because he's very
No, I started it the year before I met Guru Dan. Again, nothing was open then, right? It was all sort of closed. And then I had a flat in Islington, and I needed a phone put in. I just moved in, and I used to teach the guy Jeffrey Roth, and Jeff Roth was he was just an entrepreneur, and he came to the Tonbridge Club, and I remember him saying, well, would you teach me? I said, yeah, I'll teach you. You could have had the Japs, but he didn't want the Japs. So I said, yeah, I'll teach you. So he became my private student. So, and we were once we were in the car, and we were reading Karate and Oriental Arts, which was a magazine there. But they had Ikebana in it. They had all the Oriental Arts, T-Sam there. And I was going, no, this isn't a magazine. What am I saying with the combat aspects in? So 2 weeks later, he came back with the banner for Combat magazine, and he founded Combat.
Oh, cool.
Magazine, yeah, really. So I had a very varied life, and so I was going to be on the cover of that, but then this guy Bruce Lee came along, and deposed me, and he was on the cover, and I was inside, and so I'd just come back from Japan then. But I was open to everything. I came back from Japan going, this is it, but it's not everything. So what do I do? And then as I said, Jay came to do my phone, and I'd been on in this first magazine, and he said, you're Bob Breen. I went, yeah, I am. So I was fairly famous, and not never sought fame ever, but
sure.
He was famous just for being passionate about it, really.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're Bob Breen." He said, no. I said, oh yeah, I am. I said, and then who are you? He said, I'm Jeet Kune Do. He said, I do a screamer. I said, oh, I'm interested in a screamer because a little tiny article in one of the magazines about it. You know?
Yeah.
And Dan had spoken about it, and I was into Dan, but only right on the edges of, edges of stuff. It wasn't mainstream at all then. It was like, who'd want to do that weird stuff?
Yeah.
They said, well, we have a little group, so I went and joined the little group, and so we trained with Rene and the Toes on our first evening. Rene was one of the original Stockton people,
Okay.
And they have a big group here in England. I'm not sure what they call it. They used to be called Filipino Martial Arts Association or something like that. But they wanted to do some other stuff as well, and I didn't really do that stuff because I'd fought for England, I'd captain England, and they wanted to do that. They wanted to do like fisticuffs, and I wanted to learn the screamer.
Yeah.
And once we had a little crowd together, Bill, who was in charge then, wanted to do a bit more of that. I went, I don't want to do that because then I've got to, I've either got to contend with you. And I don't want to, because it would screw the whole thing up.
Yeah. Adds a weird dynamic.
Yeah, they have a weird dynamic, and I just didn't like it. So I left, and I contacted Dan, and I wrote him a letter. And I didn't hear for 2 years. Didn't hear a single thing. And then 2 years later, Norman Breen said, we're coming to England next week. Would you like to host a seminar? I had a week's notice. So my dad was in a hotel, so we hired the Ivanhoe Hotel in Russell Square, sort of thing, around there in Bloomsbury.
Yeah.
And my dad said, I'll get it for free. So we had the function room there for free. And then all the people came from my club, apart from about 4 people. Terry O'Neill, I think, might have come. I'm not sure. Terry came at the first one, or the second one, maybe. But mainly they're all from my own club. So we had about 50 people there.
Right.
And then Dan came with Jeffrey Marder. And if you know Jeffrey Marder,
I don't think so.
If you watched the Born Identity, he was trained by Jeffrey Marder.
Cool.
All of the early Born films, all Jeffrey Marder. Yeah. Jeffrey Marder's one of Hollywood's top stuntmen.
Oh,
but he was the top student of dance.
Right.
As are lots of them, Because Dan, Chad Stahelski, who's the director of John Wick, is the same grade as I am, under Dan.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So we'd all train together.
Yeah.
We didn't think, it's just a bloke we train.
That's not so.
But then he's gone on. He's gone on into stunts with Damon. He went with Damon originally, and they did 300.
Oh, cool.
Chad did the Matrix, that handstand thing, the cartwheel shooting. That's him.
Oh, as in he's the double for that.
Yeah, he's the double for that.
Cool.
And then obviously went on to be a stunt director, and then eventually a director.
Oh, cool.
So weird, eh? It's quite. So there's all these people who all became famous or really famed, mainly because it was like the place to be. It was happening.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's a very well-known school and very, very well-known style, and especially with sort of the explosion of Bruce Lee that led to Guru Dan and
So then I had Guru Dan and Jeff came for 1979 and 1980. I opened my own school in 89. So I had a school right from the age of 20, but I didn't have a full time.
An actual
with a
facility
gym and I had halls and things like that. And so they came in, and I just got blown away. So I used to have classes doing karate, but with a boxing mix, because I was into boxing. Then I had boxing trainer I used to train with. And I was into boxing, and once I saw that, I said, no, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm doing that. And so I lost everyone overnight. I went from 40 people a class,
really,
which is big classes.
Yeah.
I had an easy 40 in every night. Just it was packed. And I went, no, I can't do that anymore. I'm doing this. And some of that, obviously, I kept.
Some of the elements of it.
Some of the great stuff was great. I remember when I came back from Japan, I had a front kick that you couldn't see.
Nice.
It would hit people and come on with blood on it. It was like weird. And I go, oh my God, what is that? It was like a superpower. Just so we did thousands. So I had a score, and then Dan came 79, 80, and then I had him again in 84, and then from then on I had him every year after that. And I had my own score in 89 in Hoxton, and that became like his school. Very attractive to people.
Yeah.
Very attractive to top people. We trained really hard. It was a centre of excellence. So we become one of the best clubs, I'd say, in Europe at that time. For about 15 or 20 years, it was a really top school.
Well, it's got the reputation still now. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming you probably moved facilities and things since then.
Now I've handed it on now to my students. It's still a great club. Legacy.
I've seen it. Yeah.
But the old building was great because it was an old school.
Oh, right.
So I spent a year doing it up and fixing it up and cleaning the floors and rubbing down all the woodwork. And then it was when we were kicked out by the Labour Party, I should say. The Labour Party kicked us out because they wanted it with their ethical developer friends. What was I going to say? When we left, it was then used as the backdrop in a film about a boy with Hugh Grant.
Oh, right, really?
Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah. Didn't get your logo in the background anyway.
No, but the doors in the background.
Yeah.
I stripped all of those. So it was a really iconic building, and we had a rooftop.
Oh, cool.
So we had a playground on the roof.
Oh, that is cool.
And I built a studio up there as well.
Must have something set
up
there,
inside and outside. And I was going up with a guy called Bill Stutzman. And Bill Stutzman's quite a senior CLAP practitioner now, under Richard Jabourds. And we walked out, and as we walked out the door to have the private lesson, the IRA blew up the centre of London.
Jeez.
Yeah, and we were like, wow. It was like almost blew us off our feet. It was, in a way, it was marvellous. You wanted them to repeat it, so you could see it again, because it was like too much to take in.
It's a pretty crazy thing, especially if you're not expecting it.
And we can hear all this tinkling, 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 tinkling. I thought, so it's all the glass coming down,
Wow.
It was amazing. It was pretty impressive. So, so that was, and that was a great school. I mean, it was like a school for spies. There'd be someone in the corner throwing knives. There'd be somebody in knife fighting. There'd be someone in grappling and doing judo.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because obviously, I mean, most people listening to this will be aware, but obviously the Filipino martial arts are more sort of weapon oriented.
Yeah, well they're traditionally, as taught by Dan, there's 12 areas.
Okay.
So one's empty hands, one's clinch, one's like bud, one's knife, single knife, one's double knife, one's sword and dagger,
double stick,
one's double sword, double axe, double
all the
stick.
Various combinations.
All the various blowpipe.
A blowpipe? I didn't know they had that.
Flexible weapons.
Yeah.
So it's a complete system.
Yeah.
But you're never going to get that done in a lifetime. So you've got to choose your weapon, haven't you?
Yeah, well, especially trying to spend the amount of time you have to put into things to get out of it. If you want to get really good at it, you really have to pick one thing.
So staff and spear and things like that. So, but that was also, I think, I said, well, how do you do that? Because it's almost impossible to do. because it's been the master of the 12 excellence. It's not 12. I think Chen Man Chin, the famous Tai Chi master, was master of the 7 excellences, like mathematics, warfare, Tai Chi, art, calligraphy, music, and something else. Yeah? And I thought, no, you can't do that in a lifetime. It's too much.
Yeah.
You might get 3 if you're lucky. If you get really great at 3, you've led an exceptional life.
Yeah.
And if you said, well, I do 2 and the other one's my family and friends, you've done exceptionally well.
Yeah, you take that.
If you play the guitar on a really good level,
yeah,
and you play football on a high level,
yeah,
you're an overachiever, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
most people will never master one thing.
No, never master one.
Yeah.
So I said, well, you can't do 12. And then I'm not sure if you've seen the film Hidden Fortress by Akira Kurosawa.
It's not ringing any bells.
So Hidden Fortress is a great film to watch because it's Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
So they nicked it. They nicked everything from it.
As in, which way round? Star Wars nicked it, or they nicked it from Star Wars?
Star Wars nicked it from there.
Okay, cool.
Because Akira Kurosawa did Hidden Fortress in 1959.
Okay.
So he did Sanjuro, Yojimbo. Yojimbo became a fistful of dollars with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Just nicked. Just a straight nick and just put a cowboy uniform on and just do the same film.
Yeah, twist a few things, yeah.
Yeah, twist a few things, but basically it's that. And then Hidden Fortress became Star Wars. A warrior and a princess travel through enemy territory, undercover, with 2 idiots. C3PO and whatever. And you go, oh wow. So in Hidden Fortress, he gets caught out. He's undercover pretending to be, and he gets caught out and he has to fight. And he fights with everything. So originally he fights empty hands against the sword. He takes the sword off the guy. Then they run off with a horse, on horses. One guy with a spear and one guy with a sword. So he chases them. The guy with the spear is trying to get him, so he blocks all that, kills him, chases the other guy, kills him, and he ends up in the enemy encampment. And there's thousands of them there, And then the general of the enemy encampment says, don't attack him, he'll kill you all. He's too dangerous. And he says to him, oh, welcome. He said, I'm meant to fight you at the Battle of Sekigahara or something like that. And he goes, oh yeah, shame, I didn't miss you. I didn't see you. He's a very sort of Clint Eastwood sort of character. He's like, doesn't talk much. He's grumpy. And the guy goes, well, let's fight now then. So he goes, okay. And the general says to him, what weapons would you like? He said, I don't care. And I went, oh, I don't care. And for me, that was like a light bulb moment. Because I went, if you have to learn all these things as separate entities, you've got 12 things to learn. Yeah. If you say, again, coming back to the 4D thing, what's the principle here? So this is a box. When I'm doing it with a pole, or I'm doing it with a spear, once you've got a simple, and then you've got the 80-20 thing happening, and the geometry thing's still the same. Yeah. Same geometry, all the same concepts. The instincts all the same. And then you've got to have some handling skills with it, but you don't have to have as much.
You can pick it up much easier.
Much easier, because you just go, because whilst you may not have the fancy twirling skills, they're not about fighting. Yeah. They're handling skills. Yeah. And I know loads of guys who do all that, and then you just go bash. And they go, oh, how do you bash me? I just bashed you.
Yeah, you just spin the stuff around.
Yeah, or they talk with a good fighter. They go, oh yeah, I like to come in and cut your carotid, and I'll go around, and then I'll go for the femoral trachea, and then I come in the back and take the kidney, and you go, bosh, and they've been left. Yeah, they're still on the starting line. And so loads of nonsense to talk to in martial arts, but it's that very hyperbole and and
it's all hypothetical.
Yeah,
I would do this and this and this would happen.
They like to do this. Yeah, well, who are they? Yeah, So the 4D approach is not for everyone. It's just not for everyone, because some people love to follow. Oyatobi Sensei said So the finger must be like this.
Letter of the law.
Letter of the law. And, because they like that stability. But I'd say that I've got great stability in that it's always the same. It's just not as obvious, the stability. Stability is not in external form, it's more
underlying.
Underlying. So I'm just going, oh yeah, whatever. And sometimes you're going to lose, which is fine. But it makes it really interesting. And then, so that thing about I don't care what weapon that he says in that film, up to you, I don't care. Because he's going to kill you anyway.
Yeah.
So the intent is just amazing. And all the Kurosawa films are must see. So if you've not seen them, Akira Kurosawa, Sanjuro is my favourite, but Yojimbo, Red Beer's very slow, but the fight in it is really good, considering it's 1959.
Yeah.
And I say that Sanjuro and Yojimbo are better action than now with all the CGI.
Oh, really?
Oh, they're the best. Yeah.
I do quite like sort of the old films for that, where you actually see people like trying to do
because it's real, isn't it?
Stuff. Yeah, that's it.
Well, I think, those old guys, all that stuff that you go on about health and safety now, all those old stuntmen, like there's a guy called Yakima Canute who's in India. So all that stuff in the cowboy films where they run across the train and they jump on a horse, he's actually doing that. There's no CGI.
Yeah.
And they go, no, can't do it again. So he's doing it 15 times. All those guys have broken legs, broken arms. So, oh yeah, it's just a broken arm. It's like totally different.
Yeah. The stuntman dies, he dies.
It was a different time, you know. Even when I was growing up, obviously I'm 75 now. You know, if kids fell off of the climbing frame, you go, oh, weak.
Yeah.
You know, really, it's quite weird. You know, so you realise, oh, no one's going to come to look after me.
Yeah.
And at the bottom of the mountain climb, it's not that spongy tarmac they've got now. It was like.
Yeah, you're full.
I remember when we first opened my club, in my first club when I was 20, it was a hardwood floor. So we do all the throws.
Oh, you would?
On a hardwood floor, yeah.
Oh.
We were 20.
Yeah.
We didn't care.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, my elbow hurts, sky yanks. It was freezing cold and dirty, and it was just great. We were 20. I hate to do it now.
Yeah.
But back then I was 20.
You feel invincible.
Dumb as a bag of hammers, you know? But we trained ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it got you there, didn't it?
Yeah, wherever there is. You know, but the greatest thing is just to turn up and train. You know, you don't have to be a superhero, but just turn up and find a good club to go to with great people. People who take care of you, like brotherhood, who aren't going to beat you up. Who are going to make you grow, you know? And for me, the big thing in my whole career was to empower people and to uplift people. You know, and so well, I'm quite good at this. Come on up, it's great up here. You can pull them up, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's weird, as you pull them up, they push you up higher.
Right.
Because it's like an evolution thing. And it's great. I mean, I say everyone should do martial arts. I think it gives you confidence, empowers you. I mean, I've got a stammer, as you can see. I used to have a limp and a bald head, you know. But it's changed my life totally. And all those around me, I get people come up every week and say, "You've changed my life totally." People who weren't going anywhere, they do martial arts in a good club. They've got direction, you know, and changed hundreds of people's lives.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it was lovely.
It makes such a crazy difference.
and that's what it's about, really. And to just empower people. They don't have to be killers, you know.
Yeah, not everyone's got to be a world champ.
They just want to go out with that light on, don't they? Yeah. We do a thing just before we probably come to an end. Is I often talk about imposing space, you know, like imposing yourself in the space so you own the space and then you push the person back with your
presence,
aura, your presence, yeah. And so we started to do exercises. Go, okay, we're sparring, but I want you to push him in the corner without hitting. Just by like, and so he moves back a little bit, doesn't realise he moves back a bit, and then you change the angle because you want him in that corner, and you're just like, and you don't even need to hit him, just like, and he moves back a bit, and eventually he's in the corner, in the corner, because they lose sight of that because they're thinking about sparring.
Yeah, you're worried about stuff coming.
Yeah, and then you're worried about that. And so we do that, and then at the end of it, I said, look, just got to turn your light on. I said, you want to think you've got a big Bentley, an old Bentley headlight here. Right, and you want to turn it on and shine that light like this. So it's like, and you've got a third eye here, which again you want to be shining, And you do that, and you go boom, and you just impose, and it's hitting you on such a subliminal level.
Yeah.
And then I said to the class, like, do it now. We do it in sparring. I said, but I want you to do it in the office tomorrow. I want you to do it all week. And I said, particularly, I want you to go to the embankment station and go the other way to the crowd. Because when you get to the embankment, there's a weird changeover. And normally the crowd's coming towards you and you have to walk to go to get the central line or whatever it is. You have to walk the other way.
Yeah.
So I said, turn your light on and walk towards them and smile. And watch them peel away. Just peel away.
Cool. Yeah.
I said, it doesn't always work, but it works amazingly. So anyway, 2 days later, one of my students is Ibrahim. He comes in, he goes, this is me outside 10 Downing Street. And I go, well, how'd you get there? He went, I turned my light on.
That's so cool.
It's cool, isn't it? Yeah. And see, now I'm the advisor to Philip Hammond on all the computer stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was in the office and they said, we need someone there. And he had his light on all day. He said, it's just so powerful. And he went, Ibrahim, why don't you go? He went, yeah, I'll go. And he said that changed his life.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah, I think that's a lovely story to wrap up on, Bob.
Perfect, yeah.
That's fascinating. Before we go, anyone that is interested in learning from you or training?
Go to bobbreen.com. I do an online training. I do an online elite online training, which is like loads of stuff, right from the basics all the way through. We're also going to redo this year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we're going to because the early bits we did a few years ago, so we're going to redo those.
Yeah.
So they're much tighter and organise it a bit better. Plus, there's loads of things. I think there's 27 different books, videos, seminars, masterclasses on there, and then I teach seminars in the UK and Italy and places like that. And they're always up on Facebook.
Beautiful.
On my page on Facebook. And then for some people I do privates as well,
Great. Well, I'll include in the description on whatever platform people listen to.
Okay.
I'll put all the websites and social medias and things in there. But I just want to say thank you very much for sharing all that with me.
And for all those people, just turn up and be right, and pull two over your leg and be consistent, because that's the thing that makes a difference.
That's what gets you there.
Turn up, be consistent. You don't have to be a hero. Just keep turning up, and eventually all the others will drop away, and there's only you left. Gold dust.
That's it. Thank you very much, Bob. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you very much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed that. And thank you again to Guru Bob for your time. It was a fascinating conversation. I hope everybody listening got as much out of it as I did. If you want to support Guru Bob, all of the links are below in the description, whatever platform you're listening to. Try and take the opportunity to train with him if you can. I will be there at some seminars shortly that he's got coming up. But please also don't forget to support the podcast. Whatever platform you're on, you can subscribe right now. It makes a huge difference and is zero cost. Equally, please make sure to follow us on social media at CWAMA Podcast. That's Conversations with a Martial Artist podcast on all platforms. A quick follow means a lot and helps us bring on great guests. Until the next one, I will see you there.